This one's going to feel a bit more like a rant than anything else. This is a game called The Medium, and I think it's almost good. Almost. It has wildly good cinematic moments. I think that the soundtrack is really well done. It's done by the same guy who does the soundtrack on the Silent Hill games, Akira Yamaoka. His work is beautiful. I love it, but where this game stumbles, and where a lot of modern horror stumbles for me, is the lack of combat. Let me explain. So this game is completely devoid of combat in any sense of the word. Now, what you're probably wondering is, how do you play a video game without any combat? How do you play a game when there are no stakes, when there's no possibility of you dying? Well, there is a possibility of you dying. The only possibility being during these chase sequences. This big demon will spawn in and it will chase you down, and you have to know the right ways to dodge it, and then at some point the chase sequence ends and you're good. And that doesn't work for me. So for me, that really sucks out a lot of the horror of the entirety of the experience, because I know that I'm safe if I'm not being chased. If the thing isn't spawned in and chasing me down. Of course, there's that initial reaction when he pops in and it's like, oh, that little jump. But much like a jump scare, that doesn't sustain horror. That doesn't make the entirety of the experience. This is the dude that I'm talking about, and you just have to know how to dodge around him so that he doesn't see you. The other thing about it is that these sections of the game, it's like a one hit death. You are instantly grabbed by him, and then that's it. You are dead. You have died. Reload the checkpoint. That creates a sense of trial and error, and trial and error is kind of bullshit for me in video games. Except for like a puzzle game, something like that. But being booted back to the main menu, or from where I last saved my game, or the last checkpoint or whatever, is really tedious, and I don't like it. Silent Hill and Resident Evil, those are both combat focused games. That's a lot about resource management. I have to pick up bullets, I have to pick up health kits, I have to pick up key items, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do so many dozens of things. And coupling the combat in there, coupling in bullet management in there, that really adds to the tension. Because I don't know when a boss is going to come up. I don't know when I'm going to have to face down a big thing, and I'm going to need a lot more bullets than I have to kill it. That adds to the horror, that adds to the tension. In this game, I don't have to worry about that. There is no item management. There's no resource management. I don't have to I don't have to hold on to health kits. I don't have to hold on to bullets. I don't have to hold on to, breakable axes or whatever. No, that is not a factor. It's only an issue when the dude's chasing me down. And when he's not chasing me down, I am good. And that really sucks a lot of the horror out for me. And there's a lot of games like that. The Outlast franchise, the Amnesia franchise. There are some others, and I'm not saying that these games aren't good. I'm saying that they're not my brand of horror video game. And unfortunately, The Medium, while trying to be a spiritual successor to Silent Hill, feels a lot more like a contemporary horror game, the same as the Amnesia games and the Outlast games. I am not into being chased down at random times. It just doesn't work for me. I think this game's beautiful. I think the art direction is really well done. I think the soundtrack is really well done. It's technically very impressive because it has this dual rendering thing where half the screen is you're seeing in the real world, and the other half you're seeing in this ghost realm that only your character can access and see. It's super interesting. but it just falls flat in the gameplay department for me. And at the end of the day, the gameplay is the most important part. I know that this month I've been talking about movies, so you don't hear me talk about video games a lot, but gameplay is the make or break moment for any game. That's where it starts and that's where it ends. Everything else you can be okay with. You can kind of let falter if the gameplay is good enough. But unfortunately, while having everything else be done really nicely, the gameplay itself kind of falls flat for me. I thought it was an interesting story. I thought it had interesting mechanics and the puzzle solving elements. But end of the day, I could not finish it because of that ever-present, you are safe until you are suddenly not, and then it is trial and error and trial and error and trial and error until you're done, until you beat the game. Couldn't get into it, unfortunately. So this isn't so much of a recommendation as it is a rant. It is unfun, and games should be fun.